Hello guys, welcome back to another video. In this video I'll be showing you how to use the PCG tools inside of the Electric Dreams demo. So I'll be showing you guys how you can create your own custom map or scene using the PCG tools from the Electric Dreams demo, and in fact we'll create this little open world map that you see here. What you guys will learn in this video is not only how to use the new PCG tools, but also how quickly you can create a map or scene with just a few clicks using PCG. And of course, if you are new to PCG and you have no idea what I'm talking about, basically it stands for procedural content generation, and it's a flexible, intuitive, node-based graph system that allows you to procedurally spawn any sort of mesh, blueprint, or actor into your level with a variety of different ways of spawning that mesh. Now in the Electric Dreams demo you can see it at full force, utilizing PCG to create things like procedural rivers, complete procedural forest, logs with vines on them. So there's so many different tools in here. I recently used PCG in my Unreal Engine 5 course to procedurally spawn all of the foliage on my map, and I could tell it where I wanted to spawn certain vegetation based on different biomes. So for example, I had a forest biome where I only spawned pine trees and rocks within this forest. Then I had a grasslands biome, which was just rocks, grass, and bushes. Then a tropical biome for things like palm trees, banana trees, beach rocks, and this would be all along the coast of the map. And the PCG graph could figure out where to spawn all these different trees, rocks, and foliage based on the different biomes inside of my map. And I could even exclude spawning these foliage on rivers, lakes, or oceans across the level. And the neat part about this is that I can actually reuse my PCG actor and drag and drop it into a completely new level, and it will generate all of this for me. So it's very versatile and reusable. Now, by the way, this is my multiplayer survival game course. If you guys want to check it out, I show you how to use PCG inside of this course. I mean, there's tons of stuff that we create. So we go over things like, creating a crafting system, harvesting system, building system, all that stuff. And then we create an open world map, and we use things like PCG to spawn all of the foliage on that map. So there's some brand new Unreal Engine 5.2 content in the course. Check out the multiplayer survival game course, link in the description below, or go to smartpoly.teachable.com. First thing that I want to do inside the project is, if you go to the content levels PCG, you want to go into the breakdown levels, and here's actually where we're going to check out all the different tools. So the first thing that will open up is the first level right here, which is the PCG Ditch Assembly. So this level is just showcasing all the different assets that are used in the demo, and each of these are assembled into what's called an assembly. So basically it's a combination of different assets. So if I go up super close, you can see that we have sort of like this cliff rock right here. We have different quixel assets, patches of ground. So we all know these are different separate meshes, and basically what they've done here is they've combined all these meshes into one big mesh, which is what they call a assembly. So what you can do with these assemblies is you can then take them and add them into PCG and procedurally generate something like what we have here in the background. So this is a combination of all the different assemblies that we saw there. If we select this, you can see that this is a spline tool. So basically they're using a spline, and if you take one of the spline points here, you can alt drag, and that will go ahead and duplicate the spline out. And you can see that it automatically generates all of the foliage. We have things like rocks and trees on the top of the embankment. And then down here on the side, you can see, roots dangling off. And of course, the rocks here, blending in with the ground. So these are all made up of simply all of these different assets, okay? And if you were to open up these assets even further, basically you could right click and say, edit assembly river embankment 01. You can see that now I can select all of the different little assets inside of this assembly. So we have things like the different, Nordic beach, rocky ground. These are all just Megascans assets that are put together. Okay, so I can press escape to exit out of that assembly, but that's all that this is made up of. So it's very modular, and it can be completely modified and customized. So those are the different assemblies. Let's check out the forest level. So this is complete procedural forest, and we will create this level from scratch, but as you can see, this is using the PCG volume. So this entire forest is procedurally generated, and we can go all the way down here into the ground level. And you can see there's just different rocks, plants, and vegetation scattered on the ground. And of course, we have all the tree variations that create the forest, and we have sort of these cliffs that spawn everywhere on the level. And also the cliffs have their own different vegetation that spawned on them. So they have vines, bushes, and trees that actually spawn on the cliffs. So these are also assemblies that we can pick apart, but this is the forest level, so this is all procedurally generated. And again, we'll make this from scratch. Okay, so in the next level, we're going to check out the large assemblies. So those cliffs that we saw in that forest, it's comprised of this cliff assembly. We can even right click and click edit. And then if we actually select some of these objects, you can see what they're made of. We have quarry cliff for the rocks, and all the different trees, European hornbeam tree, so all the assets that comprise of this assembly. So if we hit escape, we can exit out of there. Then over here we have some of the embankments that go on the sides of this little cliff and this log as well. And so these are again just assemblies, so I could right click and click edit, and you can see that it's comprised of the log, the stump, these little bushes on top of it, and that's really all that it is. Okay, now what they've done is they combined all of these little assets into this large assembly, which is a PCG blueprint. So basically this is a little spline. So if you have it selected, you can move the spline points, and what that will do is it will automatically generate the embankment. So you can see we have the roots, the rocks blending in with the ground. And then it also adds these little logs that are placed directly across. I can even duplicate some of these spline points and move it out to create sort of a larger island here, and automatically generate and place these procedural logs. Now with this assembly selected, there's actually a lot more settings that you can customize. You can enable or disable the cliff. You can enable or disable the landslide. So this landslide right over here, you can see if I enable it, we have this larger fall off. It looks like part of the riverbed has collapsed. And then you can disable it. We have sort of that sharp cliff edge. You can enable or disable the fallen trees, so if you want trees hanging off of these sides. And then there's a lot more different variables you can play with. You can play with the scale of the plants, so we can scale the bushes down based on these variables. We can also play with the actual trees, so we can change the seed, and that will change the way that the trees are spawned. So also we have the embankment seeds. So this will change the different variation within the embankments. So I can change this to a different number, say 68 or something like that. And you can see the seed changes the way it looks. Okay, so there's a lot of different variables to play with, and this is all powered with a PCG. So if we browse to this, it will show us the blueprint large assembly. And if we open this up, basically this is a blueprint actor, and it's powered with a spline. You have the main actual spline inside of this blueprint, and then we have a component, which is the PCG component. This is actually where all of the logic is stored. So if we were to browse to this graph, it's in the PCG graphs large assembly. You can see that there's a lot of stuff going on here to create things like the landslides, the embankments. And basically it's taking all of those different assemblies and using information inside the blueprint, like the actual spline, to determine where should it place the fallen trees and how it should spawn the content. Now if you open up the last level here in the breakdown levels, we have sort of this spline path. So we can select this and again duplicate this and move it out, and you can see we can just create this little pathway. So there's a lot of stuff that you can create with PCG, and there's so many different tools that can speed up your workflow, allowing you to procedurally spawn the content rather than having to individually place everything. So we've checked out all the demo levels. Let's create our own custom level using some of the PCG tools inside of the project. So if you go to the levels, create a new folder for extra, And then I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new level. You can select, open world or basic. I'll just do basic for now. And inside of this level, I'm going to go ahead and first do a file, save current level as. We'll just save it in our extra folder. Then let's go ahead and create a landscape. So let's go into selection mode, landscape, and under the landscape mode, you can select your material. So the demo comes with this landscape material. So just search for m_bg landscape auto material. Select that and click create. So that will go ahead and create our landscape for us. And then we can go back into our selection mode. And the first thing that we're going to add is our procedural forest. So if you open up your content browser here, go to the content folder and search for forest BP. We'll have this PCG demo forest blueprint. So drag and drop it into level. And then we just want to generate the forest. So select the forest demo blueprint. And in the details under the components, you want to select the PCG demo forest. And in here we have an option to click generate. So click generate. As you can see, it will automatically generate the forest here. And yeah, it's pretty much as easy as that. You just click generate and you can generate a fully procedural forest on your landscape. So let's use some of the other different tools to customize this level. So the other tool that we can add is called ditch BP. So this is PCG demo ditch. So if you drag it into level, what you'll see is it will add a cutout inside of our landscape, and we can take any of these spline points and move it like so. And you can see that it will cut away the forest and give us, our working space. Okay. So you can go ahead and add a little area that we can work with. And if you want to duplicate a spline point, you can hold down Alt on your keyboard. That will duplicate a spline point. If you want to delete a spline point, you just select it, click delete, and that will get rid of it. Okay. So now that we have our cutout, we want to add some procedural rocks and actually have it blend in with our forest. Because right now, this is just, a random open patch, and we want to add some different variation. So search for ground BP, and we should have this PCG demo ground BP. So just take that and drag that out into level. And what you'll see happen is it automatically generates these, river bed rocks, and also these, rocks here on the edges. Okay. So very quickly, it adds a lot of different variation. So now that we added our ground BP, select the ditch blueprint. And if you click clean regen, what that will do is it will go ahead and automatically add these embankments here on the side of our ground. So you can see we've added sort of this riverbed, and now we have, these procedural embankments on all the sides of this riverbed. Okay. So the last thing that we're going to do is add in some assemblies inside of this island here. So we can search for large assembly. So if you search for BP large, we have this PCG large assembly. So if you take that and drag that into the level, what that will do is it will go ahead and add in our large PCG assembly. Basically, we can take this, take some of these spline points and move them out. As you can see, as we move around the different spline points, it's going to generate things like the fallen logs, and based on its distance to the embankment, you'll see that it will automatically generate and know exactly where to place these logs across, just as if, a tree were to fall down naturally and rest at that position. So as you can see, very quickly we can create complete procedural forest and environment by just using a couple of clicks and some of the different procedural tools found inside of the Electric Dreams demo. And this just goes to show how versatile and how reusable all of these tools are, how you can just create a brand new level and just drag and drop the different PCG tools and get an environment that looks realistic in under a few minutes. So the next thing that I want to do in this demo is I just want to create a new level, and we're going to select this time the open world map. So if we click create here, this will create this larger open world map that we see here. And we're going to do the same sort of process, but instead here on this open world map template, just to show you guys how you can do it. We'll do file, save current level as. This will be our open world demo. Then to assign the material, we already have these little landscape tiles. So you just want to select all of those. So shift select all the landscape tiles. And in the details, we can change the landscape material to that BG landscape auto material. So assign it. And then we have our auto material assigned. Then we can just drag it in our forest blueprint. So search for forest BP and drag that into our level. Now before we click generate, let's actually size this up to the landscape. So if you go into perspective top, we can zoom out and scale this up to meet the size of the landscape. Then let's go back into perspective mode. And in the details, select the forest BP, select the forest PCG demo in the components, and then click generate. Now we'll go ahead and generate a procedural forest here on our open world map. We have, our tree line over here, all the different cliffs, and then we have all the mountains in the background. So we can add a cutout in our forest. So let's search for our ditch BP and drag and drop it anywhere in our level. And then we'll go ahead and cut out the forest. We can take some of these spline points and move them further out if we want some more room. Now what I'm going to do is I actually have some assets for different buildings to use. I got this from Kitbash 3D. They have, different 3D kits. Basically, I can take, one of these different buildings and just drag and drop it in here where I did my little cutout of the forest. And if I need to cut it out even further, I can, reselect my ditch blueprint, select some of these spline points, and duplicate some of the points to, remove the trees around the building. I have a full review video on these Kitbash assets, so stay tuned for that. But as you can see, we created very quickly an open world map, and we've added in our own little building here. And this would just be absolutely perfect for creating some sort of short film, or even creating your own open world game. Unreal Engine's PCG tools, I think, are set to revolutionize the way that artists and really anyone can create environments or levels inside of Unreal Engine. It'll just benefit, the industry as a whole, because it'll allow indie developers to create massive environments very quickly. And also people who want to create short films, you can create a scene or environment in only a few minutes, just using some of these simple PCG tools available. So that is going to be it for this video. Just wanted to showcase how you can create your own level or map using the PCG tools inside of the Electric Dreams demo. I'll be making a new video showcasing how to use PCG and the basics. So if you guys want to learn, the basics of PCG and how to set up your own PCG tools, I'll be making a complete beginner tutorial. So make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss out on that. And that's going to be it for this video. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.